Remove these 8 things from your life, silently, without telling anyone. A seed makes no sound as it breaks through the earth. Down there, in the darkness, it challenges everything above it. This is how you must grow. Quietly. With certainty. Without announcement. Without permission. Because those who need to broadcast their transformation to the world aren't seeking change. They're seeking attention. Today, everyone wants to document the process. They record themselves improving, narrate every step as though life were some reality show. But let me tell you directly, real change isn't live-streamed. It happens in private. In the mind, where it hurts, where it burns, where no one applauds. That's where the person you'll become is forged. The Stoics understood this. Those who control their inner world control their destiny. But this requires making decisions that aren't discussed, debated, or explained. Decisions known only to one person, executed in silence with the cold certainty of someone who no longer needs external validation to know they're on the right path. Stay with me, because I'm about to show you 8 Stoic decisions that, if you have the courage to make them, can completely transform your life. But do it without noise, without warning, without theater. Because those who announce they're changing haven't changed anything yet. Number 1. Choose calm over being a slave to anger. Anger is like wildfire in a dry forest. It starts with a spark. A word. A look. And before you realize it, you've burned everything that ever mattered to you. The worst part? Fire doesn't discriminate. It destroys your relationships, your peace, your health, your reputation. Everything. And while the flames consume, you feel powerful. You feel in control. But when the smoke clears, only ashes remain. The ruins of what you destroyed by failing to control yourself. This is anger, a fire that always takes more than it gives. The problem is many confuse anger with strength. They think explosions demonstrate character, that shouting commands respect, that insults equal victory. But no. That's weakness. Those who lose control, lose. Period. Because if you can't even manage yourself, you can't claim control over anything in life. The Stoics knew, true strength lies in calm. Not in indifference, but in mastery. It's looking at someone trying to provoke you and deciding they don't deserve your energy. It's hearing criticism without letting it destabilize you. It's watching the world burn around you while thinking clearly. But of course, this isn't easy, because anger seduces. It feels justified, necessary. It makes you think you must defend yourself, that not responding means losing. That's the trap. Because when you react with anger, you're not responding, you're falling. You're surrendering control of your mind to another person. The other person didn't anger you. You failed to resist the impulse. Anger isn't the world's fault. It's your responsibility. So the decision is simple but brutal: choose calm. And don't announce it. Don't say, "I won't get angry anymore," because once you say that, the world will test you. Just do it. Let those who provoke you leave disappointed. Let those who insult you exhaust themselves. Let those seeking conflict argue with themselves. You're not an animal reacting by instinct. You're someone who chooses how to respond. That's self-control. That's real power. The Stoics taught that no one can harm you unless you allow it. That what offends isn't what happens, but your interpretation of it. So why give power to someone who simply wants to see you fall? Next time you feel anger spark, ask yourself, is it worth burning everything for this? Almost always, the answer is no. This isn't advice to become submissive or indifferent. On the contrary, it's about becoming master of yourself. Because when you choose calm, you choose victory. Not over the argument, the insult, or cheap pride, but real victory, keeping your mind intact, cold, calculating, invincible. And let no one know. Let them think you're weak, incapable of defending yourself. Let them believe what they want, because in the end, those who choose calm never lose. Those who control anger already control the world within themselves. And that's where real transformation begins. Number 2. Decide in silence. Those who need permission haven't grown. A wolf doesn't ask for opinions before leaving the pack. It leaves alone when it knows the time has come. It doesn't sit to discuss this with anyone. It needs no applause for courage or understanding of its instincts. It simply acts, because nature doesn't negotiate with doubt. This is how you must be with your decisions. When you know change is necessary, that a path is exhausted, that one version of yourself no longer works, you don't need anyone's permission to move forward. The problem is we've grown accustomed to living through explanation. Justifying every step. Trying to make others understand why we do what we do. But this only binds you. Every time you explain a personal decision, you give another person the chance to validate or destroy it. Let me tell you directly, those who need to explain their growth haven't grown enough, because those truly changing have neither time nor need to convince others. This isn't pride. It's clarity. When you know exactly what you want, when you've thought, felt, and decided with certainty, you don't need a committee of opinions. Your path is yours, and not everyone will understand it. Some will laugh. Others will question. Some will try to stop you. But so what? Will they experience the consequences of your decisions? No. So why give them that space? The Stoics taught that others' opinions are just opinions. They don't change reality, don't alter your essence, don't shift your goals. Epictetus said we should concern ourselves only with what depends on us, and others' interpretation never depends on you. So if you wait for others to approve your changes, you'll remain stuck, a prisoner of external judgment. Moreover, most don't understand deep change because they lacked courage to change themselves. It's easier to criticize than to act. More comfortable to say you're exaggerating, moving too fast, should think more carefully. You need to be cold-blooded enough to smile internally and keep moving forward without looking back. When you make a decision, make it for yourself. Let the world learn about you through your results, not your explanations. Because those who explain too much doubt too much. And on this path, doubt is a crack that sooner or later becomes a break. If you know what you want, do it. Don't wait for your family to approve, your friends to understand, society to celebrate, because they won't bear the consequences of your life. You will. And don't confuse this with arrogance. This isn't about closing your ears to wise counsel, it's about stopping the begging for understanding from those not on your level of consciousness, from those who don't want to understand because deep down, they prefer you stay where you are. Because if you grow, they remain small. And not everyone can handle that. So remember this, you don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify every change, every decision, every break in your life. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them criticize. Your job isn't convincing them, it's proving to yourself you made the right choice. And that will eventually become visible, because when growth is real, results speak for you. Then you won't need to say anything. Number 3. Complaint is your prison. Move or free yourself. Prison walls aren't always made of concrete. Sometimes they're made of complaints. Every time you repeat the same grievance, every time you complain without moving, every time you talk about how unfair everything is without doing anything, you're building an ever higher wall around yourself. You become a prisoner complaining about bars while never searching for the key. Because the truth is, some people grow accustomed to crying internally. Living while dwelling on what they lack, what they weren't given, what didn't work out as they wanted. They make complaint into a comfortable but pathetic home. Most people live this way. They complain about work, about partners, about their country, about life. But when you ask what they're doing to change it, the answer is always the same, nothing. Because complaining is easy. It requires no effort, no courage, risks nothing. It's the perfect excuse for inaction. And those who constantly complain eventually begin believing they have only two options: accept it or keep crying. But there's a third option the Stoics preached, which very few practice: do something or let it go. That's simple. If you can change it, change it. If you can't, release it. There's no point feeding daily on complaints poison. Be aware of this: every time you complain internally, you become weaker. You repeat the victim's speech, which only strengthens your paralysis. Constant complaint is a reminder that you have no control, not because you can't have it, but because you don't want to take it. Because control is always available, but it demands responsibility, demands action, demands you stop wasting time on regret and start doing something. And don't misunderstand me, this isn't about being stone or denying pain. It's about what you do with that pain. Do you use it as fuel to move, or as an excuse to stay put? That's the difference between those who grow and those who rot in their regrets. The Stoics taught that the world owes you nothing. That life is as it is, not as you wish it were. So if you don't like something, you have two paths: act or release. But don't cry internally, because every tear that doesn't make you move is another link in the chain life hangs on you. And worse is when complaint becomes internal, silent, the kind you don't speak aloud but repeat in your head. Because that's the most dangerous kind. No one hears it, no one questions it, but you feed it daily. And the more you feed it, the more your mind rots, the more your vision narrows, the more you convince yourself you can do nothing. That's where dreams die. That's where character fades. So if something bothers you, decide: can I change this? Then shut up and do it. Can't change it? Then release it and move on. But what you cannot afford is staying in between, complaining without acting, suffering without freeing yourself. Because that no man's land is personal hell that many build and few escape. So close the door on complaint. Not because life is fair, but because you deserve to be free. And freedom begins when you decide to stop crying internally and start moving, or releasing. Number 4. Break the chain of approval. Don't live for applause. There are cages that require no bars. Applause is enough to imprison you. Because the moment you live for others' approval, you're no longer free. You're a slave disguised as successful, someone who smiles when told they did everything right, who quietly crumbles when praise doesn't come. This is the invisible chain you drag without realizing it. Every like, every compliment, every word of approval becomes another unseen shackle binding your worth to others' opinions. External approval is the quietest drug that exists, because it's invisible, inaudible, imperceptible, yet it destroys you all the same. It makes you dependent on recognition, on approval from those who don't understand your path. And when you don't receive it, you feel empty, doubtful, weak. Then you try harder, but not to grow yourself, rather to be told you're doing everything right. And this is how great souls die, seeking approval instead of building from conviction. The Stoics always warned about this. Seneca said, "Those who live awaiting others' judgment will never be masters of their own lives." Because the moment you tie your peace, progress, or happiness to others' opinions, you're already lost. Who determines whether you're good enough? They do, with their weak criteria, their mediocre expectations. If that's the case, you're no longer master of yourself. And the worst kind of slavery is that which masquerades as social acceptance. This isn't about not caring, because it would be absurd to deny we're social beings. But it's about not living for approval. About doing what you must because it's right, because your conscience dictates it, not because someone will praise you. Because most applaud what they understand. And if you're serious about your transformation, most will understand nothing. Then they won't applaud, they'll criticize, laugh, say you've changed too much or aren't the same anymore. And that's fine. You don't need to be the same. And you don't need to explain it. External approval is a chain broken only through brutal honesty, the kind you experience when asking yourself, if no one applauded, would I still do this? If yes, you're on the right path. If no, then what you're doing isn't for you, it's for them. And that's a trap, because the day applause ends, you'll fade too. Act in silence. Build in shadow. Improve from within. Let the world think what it wants. Let others applaud whom they choose. You're not here to please anyone. You're here to become your best version, even if no one notices. Because real growth is felt in the soul, not in likes, congratulations, or approving glances. So break the chain. Stop living for applause. Let them talk, doubt, laugh. The only applause you need is your consciences when you go to sleep, because there's no audience there, no noise. Only you with yourself. And if in that silence you feel at peace, then you've already won. Number 5. Look only at your own reflection. Comparison is a trap. Comparison is like a shattered mirror. Every fragment reflects a distorted image that never shows the full truth. You look at another person, their life, body, success, apparent peace. And you think you should be that way too. But what you see isn't real. It's a part of their story you don't fully know. It's not the complete picture, only what feeds your insecurity. Comparison is a trap masquerading as inspiration, because it makes you think you should measure your progress by someone else's ruler. And in that game, you'll always lose. The world sells you this lie daily. You're bombarded with perfect lives on social media, perfect bodies, businesses that seem easy, dream relationships. And you, naively, compare yourself. You think you're behind, lesser, broken. But in reality, no one shows the falls, the terrible days, the sleepless nights, the failures that almost destroyed them. No one shows the shadow, only the facade. And you fall into the trap, believing that facade is the whole truth. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus said the only acceptable comparison is with yourself, with who you were yesterday, who you can be tomorrow. Because growth is personal, not collective. You don't need to be better than another. You need to be better than your previous version. Period. If today you're stronger, wiser, more disciplined than yesterday, you're already winning. But if every day you measure yourself against others' progress, you'll only fill yourself with resentment, anxiety, disappointment, because there will always be someone faster, smarter, luckier. And if your worth depends on that, you'll live in defeat. Moreover, comparison is a thief of focus. While you watch someone else's career, you forget your own. You're obsessed with another's speed and forget the direction you should take. Then you lose time, energy, identity. Because those who compare too much eventually copy. You no longer know who you are. You just want to be what the other is. And then you're already lost. So look only at your own reflection, not the flattering reflection that tells you you're fine when you're not. Look in the mirror that disturbs you, that shows you flaws, defects, opportunities for growth. Compare yourself with who you were before, with the one who gave up, who procrastinated, who lacked clarity. That's the only competition that matters. And do this in silence. You don't need to announce you're now focused only on yourself. Just do it. Stop looking sideways. Stop envying what you don't know. Stop measuring your success by rules that don't apply to your life. Everyone has their own time, process, struggle. Your struggle is you. The only question you should ask yourself daily: am I stronger today than yesterday? If yes, you're on the right path. If no, don't waste time looking at others, start working on yourself. Because comparison is a bottomless pit. The more you look outward, the more you sink inward. So shatter that broken mirror. Keep only the reflection that matters. Yours. The one that challenges you, demands from you, pushes you. Everything else is distraction. Number 6. Control your inner voice or become your own worst enemy. Inside each of us lives an invisible judge who never sleeps. It's the voice quietly accompanying you, whispering in your ear about every mistake, every flaw, every weakness. It's the same voice that, when you stumble, tells you you're a failure, worthless, will never make it. You don't need outside enemies when you have this voice inside, because alone, it can destroy you, and no one will notice. And it's strange, because publicly you might be brave, strong, decisive, but in your mind's privacy, this voice tears you down. And you let it, without resistance. This inner voice is reflection of all criticism you've ever received, all rejections, all insecurities you've dragged since you can remember. It's echo of those who told you you're not good enough, you're wrong, won't go far. And the worst part? One day you stopped hearing it as something external and started believing it's you, that you truly are weak, awkward, insufficient. And that's when defeat began, not outside, but within. The Stoics taught that the mind is the main battlefield. Marcus Aurelius repeated, "The life of every person is what their thoughts make it." If your mind is a minefield of destructive thoughts, it doesn't matter what you achieve externally, you'll always feel small, always find reason for self-sabotage. Because the enemy already lives inside you, and you don't need anyone else attacking you. Therefore it's urgent to take control of your inner voice. Silence it when it begins meaninglessly criticizing you. Re-educate it. Transform it into ally, not executioner. Because every word you say to yourself either builds or destroys. And if you're not aware of this, you'll live digging your own grave with thoughts that aren't even yours, just remnants of garbage others left you. But owning this voice isn't magic, it's daily exercise of consciousness and discipline. Every time you notice yourself saying you can't, aren't capable, aren't worth it, stop. Question that phrase. Ask yourself if it's truly accurate or a curse you've repeated for years without basis. Then replace it, not with cheap self-help phrases, but with real affirmations based on what you've already achieved, what you know you can build. This is hard work, because the mind will always lean toward negative, toward fear, toward doubt. But that's precisely why it's your responsibility to forge steel mentality. Let the voice in your head not be one that drags you down, but one that pushes you forward. Not the voice repeating you'll fail, but the one reminding you why you started. And don't wait for someone else to do this for you, because the battle happens inside, quietly. Do this daily, without announcing it, without expecting the world to notice. Because owning your inner voice is a private act of power. It's not visible, but it's felt in how you walk, in the confidence with which you decide, the calm with which you face chaos. And when you make your mind your ally, you'll discover it no longer matters who out there speaks badly of you. Because if there's firmness within you, nothing outside can break you. Number 7. Simplify your life. Remove what doesn't add. Accumulation is the favorite sport of those without direction. They accumulate things, obligations, people they don't need, habits that diminish, garbage thoughts. And the more they load themselves, the slower they progress, the more they wear out, the more they lose themselves in a labyrinth they built themselves. Life isn't meant to be a backpack full of useless weight, but most carry it as though they must prove to the world they can bear everything. Why? Because in the end, what matters is arriving, not how many things you carried. Stoic philosophy is clear on this. Epictetus said wealth isn't having many things, but needing little. But this isn't just about things, it's complete philosophy. What habits do you have that give you nothing? How many people around you only distract, infect you with their mediocrity? How many tasks do you perform daily that don't bring you one step closer to what you want? Most never ask themselves these questions. They keep accumulating because letting go is scary, because simplifying requires character, because releasing is an act of strength, not weakness. And I'm not just talking about material minimalism. I'm talking about mental, emotional, existential minimalism. Because if your head is full of questions that don't matter, problems that aren't yours, expectations you never asked for, then you have no room for what truly matters. You want to move forward but can't, because you're overloaded with noise, garbage, obligations that shouldn't be yours. And this is a choice, because everything you allow to remain is a decision you made, though you don't want to admit it. Simplification is choice. Choice of what yes and what no. Choice of with whom yes and with whom no. Choice of which habit you keep and which you kill immediately. It's an uncomfortable process because it implies abandoning many things you've grown accustomed to tolerating. But if you don't make this cut, you'll continue filling yourself with what doesn't add, what weighs, what holds you back. And that's the perfect recipe for mediocre life: too many things, little direction. Do this in silence. You don't need to announce you're going to cleanse your life. Just start doing it. Stop answering those who only seek your time but never have anything good to offer. Break the habit that makes you lose hours you could invest in growth. Exit the circle that only serves to complain but never does anything. Start saying no without guilt. Because every no you say is a yes you say to yourself. The Stoics' new virtue lies in the essential. You don't need thousands of things, thousands of people, thousands of projects. You only need what's necessary to move forward, to become stronger, to stay focused. Everything else is ballast. And until you release it, you'll continue feeling tired, confused, scattered. Simplicity isn't poverty, it's power. Because those who know what they want and remove what's unnecessary always go further than those trying to carry everything. So look at yourself carefully. Ask yourself, what am I carrying that I should have released already? And release it, without explanations, without drama, without nostalgia. Because if it doesn't add, it's excess. And you're not here to live overloaded. You're here to move forward, lightly, decisively, freely. Number 8. Leave without explanation. Your peace is non-negotiable. There are battles that don't deserve you picking up the sword. Not because you can't win, but because they're wars that don't belong to you. And yet there you are, submerged in mud of others' conflicts, trying to solve lives that aren't yours, extinguishing fires you didn't light. Why? To feel important? To avoid being called selfish? To carry guilt that shouldn't even weigh on you? And while you do this, time passes, the mind exhausts, the soul rusts. Because every time you take on drama that doesn't belong to you, you become slave to problems you can never solve. You must understand this: not everything happening around you belongs to you. You don't need to stay where peace dies daily. You shouldn't be the solution for those who don't want saving. There are people who live in their storms because it's the only thing they know. There are people who love chaos because in it they feel alive. And if you don't learn to distinguish this, you'll find yourself dragged in, tangled, emotionally drained from useless battles. Your life will become an emotional landfill where everyone dumps their frustrations, miseries, fears, and you, without noticing, will start living in that garbage. The Stoics were clear: care for what's under your control. And what others feel, choose, or suffer doesn't depend on you. If someone doesn't want to exit their own hell, you're not obligated to burn with them. This isn't coldness, it's self-respect. It's self-love in its most honest form. Because those who truly love themselves don't allow themselves to be dragged where their peace turns to ash. Learn to leave without noise. You don't need to explain why you're distancing yourself. You don't need to justify your need for quiet. Because those who must always justify their distance are still seeking approval. And this isn't about being applauded for leaving, it's about understanding your peace is non-negotiable. If staying calm requires being alone, so be it, because silence is 1,000 times better than company that poisons. You must remember this: those who treat you well don't burden you with their eternal drama, don't use you as emotional dumping ground, don't drag you weekly to solve catastrophes they've promised 1,000 times to fix. Those who respect you care for your space, protect your energy, add to you, not subtract. So do this: step back in silence. Don't answer the scream, don't enter conflict, don't try being someone's savior, because those who want saving move. And if they don't move, that's their choice, not your obligation. Don't remain trapped by guilt or fear of what they'll say. The only opinion that matters is yours, when you look in the mirror and know you finally stopped carrying what doesn't belong to you. That's real power, the ability to leave, to close the door without scandal, to release without bitterness. Because true peace is non-negotiable. You protect it. And when you finally step back, the remaining silence isn't loneliness, it's freedom. If you watched this entire video, write in the comments, "I am a Stoic," as our secret sign, so we know you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and like if this video resonated with you. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, keep training your Stoic mind. Train your mind. Master your life.